let's talk Bajaj Auto. Remember, we were telling you how the numbers this time around have been weak in the sense that total sales are flat, export sales are under pressure, but domestic sales have actually gone up by 17% for the company. That's perhaps the reason the stock as well is on the upside. It's up almost about 0.5%. Kevin Disa, the President Finance at Bajaj Auto, joins us on the show to talk about that. Mr. Disa, good morning and good speaking with you. You know, it's a diametrically opposite scenario that we're looking at. On one hand, domestic sales are improving because of the new Avenger, but on the other hand, exports continue to slow down. So first, let's talk about the weak pocket, which is exports. Which are the markets that have been under pressure in the month gone by, and do you see more pressure in the months to come?
Sonia, let me put it this way. As far as the exports are concerned, at the retail level, we are doing exceedingly well. So while many of the people do feel a fear of the markets in Nigeria, etc., the oil-producing countries, I'm happy to inform you that we had a record retail sales of Nigeria for over 60,000 in the month of December, which is a record. For us, the basic problem is the availability of currency in these markets. Now, given the fact that the retails are taking place, our market share has gone up in all these markets. You take Egypt, for example, again a record sales, but the point and the problem that we are facing is the dollar availability for these countries. My own belief is I expect now with the Fed rate coming in, things stabilizing, etc., one should see a little bit more of a headwind in January, but from February, March onwards, we should be okay. The interesting point to see is that in all these markets, our market share has actually gone up. In Nigeria, the market share has gone up to 63%. So we are pretty comfortable on that side of the retail end. In this month, I would say that we lost out primarily in Egypt, again because of the availability of the currency, and Nepal continues to be a problem for us.
Okay, when you say, morning Mr. Disa, and a happy 2016 to you.
Morning.
What is your sense when your export numbers will start showing a year-on-year growth? Does that happen in Jan or Feb?
I would say it's more in Feb and March, and again, I were to be very blunt and frank, I think the growth will show in February and March because last quarter of the last year, we had similar problems in Egypt. So for us, I would say that the growth will start in February, March, but what we would like to look at a figure of 160,000 numbers or so, which we believe will happen from March onwards, when things should stabilize in the availability of dollars.
Okay. But this confidence that dollar availability in your export destinations will improve stems from what? Things are only getting worse in terms of
that's why I said
commodity
at this
prices.
particular point of time, at this particular point of time is only a belief, nothing substantial to share with you why, but things are improving in terms of the certain currencies and availability of dollars that we are getting feedback from the distributors.
Okay. What's going right in the domestic sales, Mr. Disa? 17% is flattering. How do you think the dealer response has been for January?
I think again, you see the strategy has been which we have unfolded in the mention to the people at large was basically concentrating on the lower and the M1 segment with the CT100 and the Platina, and at the higher end segment with the Pulsar RS200 as well as the Avenger. If you recollect in November when I came on your show, I had very confidently told you that the Avenger is going to be a success, and I think you did ask me the question as why are we so confident? The answers are completely, again, a part of the strategy is a differentiated product. So from 3,000 numbers of Avenger that we did in December of 2014, we have hit 20,000 numbers in this month. My estimate when I spoke to you at that time was I would look at about 18 to 20,000 numbers of the Avenger. However, despite the fact that this being the month of December, which is a year-end month, etc., where sales are down, Avenger has really rocketed to a 20,000 sale with a huge amount of pending orders. Keeping this in mind, we're actually expanding our capacity and targeting somewhere near close to 30,000 numbers in March.
Okay, so 30,000 numbers of Avenger in March. You know, I'm going to come back to the domestic markets.
The production capacity. Sonia, this is the production capacity.
Okay, fair enough. You had said the production capacity was 20,000 earlier, so you're going to hike it to 30,000 by the month of March. Is that correct?
That's right, because we believe the potential for selling those number of Avengers is very much there. And as you know, the number that we're talking about right now is primarily the domestic market, nothing yet for the exports.
I'm going to come back to the domestic market in just a bit, but before that, I wanted one clarification on the export market. You had said that these Egypt and Nepal markets have continued to slow down, but what about Latin America, where you get 20% of your exports from? How has that market done in the month gone by?
Sonia, I'll clarify to you, though I would say my billing to Egypt and Nepal has been affected. Retails at Egypt is very high, and most of the dealerships are probably stock out. So the problem for Egypt is again the availability of dollars. In the case of Nigeria, for example, we billed 50,000 numbers and we retailed 60,000 numbers.
Okay.
Now coming to Latin America, the sales continue to be normal, and therefore if you actually have to look at the figure of sales as compared to the last year, where we did approximately I think 160 as against the 150 or 145 that we did this year, is primarily, like I mentioned to you, the 8,000 or so vehicles would have lost in Egypt because of the availability of dollars, and about 4,000 to 5,000 numbers of Nepal.
Okay. What is the situation in Nepal? Is that improving?
Not yet. There's not much of a significant improvement. Again, it's more a government-to-government situation and nothing to do with the retail or the demand for the products.
Okay. What about the three-wheeler products? That as well was a bit disappointing.
No, let me put the three-wheeler in the right perspective. Let's talk of the domestic numbers. We grew by 43%.
Oh.
And that too, our three-wheelers domestic is grown up for 23,000 numbers as against 16,000 numbers of last year, last December. Now understand that in the month of December, normally you have a big problem in terms of registration, but we have actually taken our market share up from 41% to 50% in December. Our diesel, which is the one where we have put in effort, has actually gone up by 3 percentage points in market share. And overall our market share in three-wheelers has gone up from 41 to 50%, with clean fuels going up from 87% to 91%. So three-wheelers has been a great story for us in the month of December. And this also, keep in mind that we had 1,000 vehicles pending orders for which were funds were available, but we didn't dispatch it because of the month-end closure.
Oh, so now your three-wheeler market share stands at 50%, is that correct?
That's right. For the month of December, it's at 50%.
Okay, that's very good to hear. You know, you had said that the export numbers will go to 1.65 lakhs by the month of March. Can you give us a similar indication of what the domestic numbers could be? Currently, you've done about 1.44 lakhs in domestic. Given that the Avenger is doing so well, by the month of March, how much do you think domestic could rise to?
My estimate is, you see, there's another big model that's coming out. If you again, I'll repeat myself of the strategies that the company announced. One was the CT Platina, which was in the M1 segment. The other was in the sports segment. These two strategies have panned out. And now we'll be playing the big strategy in the commuter segment with an all-new brand that we launched in mid-February. We believe that that will be another big turnaround and bring a big change in the market. And my estimate for the month of March will be somewhere near the 180,000 numbers of domestic motorcycles, crossing 200,000 as an average in the first quarter of the financial year FY17.
Okay. Well, that sounds definitely positive. I guess margins also are set to improve?
Well, margins, I've always maintained we don't look at quarter-to-quarter margins, but if you see for the last 4 years, for every quarter our margins have been in excess of 20%, and given the fact that 80% of our products generate margins in excess of 20%, I don't see that being under pressure for the near term.
Okay, one final question then before we let you go. What's the overall market share right now in the domestic market, and how much has it changed in the last couple of months?
I don't have the figures of the competition right now, so I would believe that the fact that the industry has slowed down and we have gone up, our market share should have improved a bit, but like I said, I don't have competitive data. My estimate is we'll be somewhere near the 17.5% as of now, up from 15% last year. And going forward, I would still feel very confident of closing in at close to 20% by March exit point.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Mr. Disa, for putting your numbers into perspective. Bajaj Auto's stock is up 1% on those clarifications by the management. It's a very good domestic sales number of 17%, good performance by the Avenger. And in the export markets, the contraction that we saw in prior months has declined. but I guess there is still more trouble with dollar availability an issue in several emerging markets.
Actually, the fact also that he's increased his production capacity for the Avenger just goes to show that that bike is doing very well. And he's given a target, 1.44 lakh is what they did this time in domestic. He's saying it could touch 180,000 by the month of March. So in 2 months itself, he's expecting a big jump. And that's the reason the stock has gone up as well.